Well, John's got another recipe for us here.
All right. I didn't realize that yellow was the color of the month, but I'm kind of glad we're doing a lot of yellow stuff here. So I'm going to make a white gazpacho. Now, gazpacho is a cold soup, usually based on tomatoes. And for the most part, everybody thinks a gazpacho should look like salsa, and it usually does. It's usually red, but there is such thing as a white gazpacho. We just take the red parts and substitute them for yellow parts. Yellow tomatoes, which this time of year are fantastic. They're very sweet. They're acidic. There's a problem with yellow tomatoes most of the year. They're super expensive. Right now, you can grow yellow tomatoes very easily, so I love getting them. Some yellow bell pepper, a little cucumber, some onion, celery, a lot of lime juice, and we are going to use a little heavy cream. Now, I say a little bit. This is a big container, but I'm not going to use it all. We're going to use just a touch so that this dish ends up being white rather than yellow. Just a little bit for flavor, not enough to make this, rich, creamy, heart attack in a bowl kind of thing. I'm going to use a grinder for this. I think a grinder is one of my favorite attachments for making salsa or chilled soups because it creates a uniform texture. You can take all these ingredients and put them in the Cuisinart and turn it on, put them in the blender, turn it on, and it'll work. But it tends to kind of shred everything up, and you get a bunch of big pieces, especially the celery. You get the big strings going all over the place. But a grinder gives you a nice uniform texture. So once I turn the grinder on, it's going to be a little loud. I'll try to talk over it, but using the grinder is very simple. I mean, this goes right on the front of a mixer. They also make grinders that just stick on the side of the table, and you hand crank them. That's kind of fun for the kids, too. They're not very expensive. I think this attachment's like $30, for a KitchenAid mixer. Grinders are easy to use, and they work for so many different things besides grinding meats. They're wonderful on vegetables, and they give this soup a real, uniform texture. All you do is put stuff in the top once it's on, stick it through, and it comes firing out of these holes. And I found out many times the hard way, ruined a lot of these white coats, that the juicier the stuff is, the farther it shoots out of the holes. So what we do, I could probably get you all the way over there with some yellow tomato juice. So what I do is take a Ziploc bag and just cut off one of the corners and stick it over the edge here, save a little bit of the mess, and then it all just kind of drains straight down into our bowl. So I'm going to turn this on for a minute while we're putting everything through here. We've got some yellow tomato. We'll start cramming it through, and as everything starts going through here, you'll see what I mean when it starts coming out. We'll put some cucumbers down in there too. A little bit of white onion. I love the Texas 1015 onions right now. It's beautiful stuff. I got trivia. Anybody know why it's called a Texas 1015 onion? Nobody. It's planted on 1015, which also happens to be my birthday. This is a sweet onion like a Vidalia. That's a Texas onion, and it was developed by Texas A&M University. We got any of those Aggies out there? Anybody whooping? My wife's an Aggie, so seeing as how it's my birthday and she's an Aggie, that's got to be our favorite onion, just by default. Got some celery. Everything you put through here comes out roughly the same size little pieces. It's beautiful. Another cucumber. We'll keep the tomatoes going. It gets a little bit messy here and there, but that's kind of half the fun. This one's kind of fun too because, again, 100 degrees in the summer requires no cooking whatsoever, and you get a nice, healthy, nutritious meal out of it. It's going to be easier if I cut these down a little bit. Now, as far as this yellow pepper goes, all we need to do is just cut some strips off of here. You want to avoid the seeds. We're going to use all the meat off the sides. I try to stay away from any of the parts that are white. Inside any bell peppers, the white parts tend to be a little more bitter, so we're going to use most of this pepper here. Just add them right on into the grinder as we go. It's a great way to use up all the energy in your kids if you've got the hand crank one too. You keep stuffing it in, make them do all the work. And what comes out, again, there's a lot of recipes, a lot of very technical recipes in cooking that start with blanching your tomatoes and peeling them and seeding them, but there's a lot of good parts of that tomato that are going to waste if you do that. I really prefer recipes that use a whole tomato. I mean, maybe lose a little bit of the core, but fresh, the seeds, the skins, all that stuff can be really healthy. There's lots of fiber, lots of vitamins, good stuff in there. I like using whole products. I mean, the farmer grew the whole tomato for you. The least you can do is use the whole thing. All right, one more tomato through there. You got to be careful on how hard you smash them down there or they start squirting out of the top also. I've learned a lot of ways to make a big mess in the kitchen and a few ways to avoid that. All right, so that's pretty much all of our solid ingredients. There we go. You take the bag off, let everything fall out. Nobody got splashed in the front like SeaWorld. All in good shape. And then we've got this beautiful and extremely flavorful soup that's not quite white yet. It's yellow. Just a little touch of heavy cream, or you could use half and half. Doesn't take much, just a little bit. We got to add some salt and pepper to this. If you taste it and it's bland, same as the other dish, same as almost every dish. If you taste it and it's bland, add a little touch of salt. A little bit of white pepper. You can use black pepper if you want. I use white pepper for this one just so you don't have a lot of black flecks going around in there. And one of the easiest juicers in the world. I'm going to get a few limes in here. You got to have some acidity in this soup. Lots of vitamin C. Make sure you're not going to get scurvy here. Get some lime juice. We're going to whisk all this together. See how just a touch of cream there? I mean, a tiny drizzle changes the whole appearance. If you use a lot of cream in this, it gets this real pasty mouthfeel. It doesn't taste very good. Just a little bit. Really helps carry the flavors, gives it a nice, pretty color. And then I like to serve this one kind of like as a little cocktail. It's a great little appetizer. It's a very flavorful soup. You don't need tons of it. Sometimes we'll do it with like a little touch of crab meat or some little baby shrimp. Works really well for shellfish. Just serve as a little appetizer like that. Maybe a few little fresh chives, something like that for garnish. Just a few little pieces here. A couple little guys just for color, a little extra flavor. And then you really want to surprise everybody for a nice dinner party. It's not expensive, but it sounds like it. White truffle oil. I mean, a bottle is like, $15. All you need is about 2 or 3 drops. The flavor carries throughout the entire thing, and everybody says, this is supposed to be some kind of tomato soup. What's that one flavor? There's something in here that's really intense, that's really cool. The truffle oil, just a little hint of it. You don't need to go buying white truffles. I mean, that's the most expensive food on earth, but just a little touch of white truffle infused oil, a little bit of fresh chive over the top. Put a little caviar in there if you want to go real crazy, but fun one. It's really crisp, acidic, fresh. I recommend you let this one sit for at least 10 or 15 minutes. The onion that's in there, sometimes we use garlic as well, but the raw onion will be a little bit hot right off the bat. The lime juice, after about 10 or 15 minutes, really breaks it down, makes it nice and flavorful. Kind of like if you make salsa, it's a little intense and a little hard on the breath right at the beginning, but after 20 minutes or so, it tastes pretty good. Very similar to making a salsa. This is our white gazpacho. Thank you.
That's really pretty, and it's interesting. Can you use honeydew in that?
Absolutely.
Is that correct?
Honeydew is beautiful. It's
Yeah.
really nice to even serve this one like inside a honeydew or a cantaloupe. It's a really great soup with fresh melons like that. Hollow out the inside of one, serve it, and then you can, scoop the melon while you're eating it. It's a fun one.
Great. Okay, thank you. And
bet.
Dina has a recipe with some peaches.
All right, I'm doing a peach pico de gallo, or what you could call peach salsa. What's great about this dish is it's so versatile. You could use any kind of fruit. In the winter, when peaches aren't in season, you can use pineapple or mangoes. In the spring, you can use strawberries. You could use cantaloupe, honeydew. It doesn't really matter. This fruit can be interchanged by so many other fruits. I chose peaches right now because Parker County peaches are looking so beautiful for the farmers who are fortunate enough to have peaches this year. A lot of farmers I know got hail in that big storm a couple of weeks ago and lost their entire crops. But these are freestone peaches, which, if you know, there's 2 different kinds of categories of peaches. One is a freestone and one is a cling, and that means that the pit in the middle either breaks free really easily, meaning it's the free stone, or cling, which means that all the fruit clings to the center and you just have to eat it and just gnaw on it until, juice is running down your face. But these peaches were so gorgeous, I decided to make the salsa with this. And you want to, with peaches especially, you don't really want to do it a day ahead. You can chop everything else the day before, but peaches are a little bit like apples in that they'll start to turn brown after, it takes a lot longer than apples, but they do start to discolor after a few hours. But I'm going to dump all of these peaches into the bowl. And again, as John said, you could peel them if you like. These happen to be not super fuzzy for some reason, but you can rinse them under hot water and rub them to get most of the peach fuzz off. Or I've also used nectarines, which are basically the same flavor, but they have no fuzz. But again, I'm using red bell pepper for some crunch. The peaches are pretty ripe, so I'm adding peppers and jalapenos to give it some crunch. And again, I'm going to be easy on you guys and not use all of this. It'll make you sweat. It'll make you feel better today. And then some red onion. Like I said before, red onion I think tastes best raw, but you can use green onions, so forth. And then cilantro. Now, I happen to be one of those people who loves a lot of cilantro. And there's so many people that don't. They think it tastes like soap or just tastes really weird, but I love it. And this recipe calls for a 1/4 cup. I think I have about 1/2 cup here, so I'm going to dump it all in. But it's just delicious. And then I have a little bit of ground cumin. It's the same spice that you use in tacos and chili, just to give it that little Mexican flair, a little Tex-Mex flavor. It doesn't, a little bit goes a long way though, so you don't have to use too much. And a good healthy dose of black pepper and salt. And salt with fruit sounds really weird, but you want sort of a balance between the sweet and the salty. And then I finish this with lime juice. There's no oil in this dish. Again, I always talk about my grandmother whenever I'm cooking. This is my grandmother's juicer that I found in her stuff after she died. I was like, that's mine. So I actually broke it. There was a handle on it, but I still use it constantly because it's just this little aluminum juicer. You can use lemon juice or orange juice or grapefruit juice if you don't have limes. Even if you just have a little bit of orange juice in the fridge in a carton, that works well too. But I like the acidity of the limes. I think it goes really great with the salt, you know, that margarita lime salt kind of flavor. All right. Then you just stir it all together. You'll want to taste it, see if it needs a little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper, or jalapeno. And this, again, is something that you can eat with tortilla chips. I just eat it straight out of the bowl. But it also makes a great salad accompaniment. I have grilled chicken breast right here with some limes and some tortilla strips. And you can just pile this on. You can do it with shrimp, fish, pork, anything, just like the recipe before. And it just makes for a really great summer dish that you don't have to turn the oven on for. Nice.
Now, in case you all are like me and you can't remember all those ingredients, you will be getting the recipe cards if you haven't already. And I just want to tell you that we so appreciate, a picture's worth 1,000 words, so we so appreciate Chef Bonnell and Chef Peterson coming to spend the morning with us, and I'd like to give them one more round of applause. Thank you all.